Hello, this is a tutorial about the direct instructional strategy compare and contrast. The ability to compare means that you can find similarities between items or objects, and contrast means that you can find the differences between those objects, ideas, or phenomena. So it helps students clarify their ideas or sharpen their analytical skills. Compare and contrast is a Bloom's taxonomy level 4, which is the analysis level. And so what we're going to show here is a tool called BubbleUS, BUBBL.US, which is a concept mapping or a mind mapping software. Now, if you have not used BubbleUS before, you will need to create an account and log in. It is free. And once you log in, you will get to this screen. I'm just going to show you one that we made up for demonstration purposes here. This is a mind map or a concept map using BubbleUS, and it's about ice cream sundaes. So you have a kind of a tree here of all kinds of different items. In this case, we have ice cream sundaes, we go down to chocolate toppings, we have the ice cream, we have the candy, and then you break that down. So you have bubbles, which are the top, from the top down, they're the first items that you put in, and that's known as parents. The siblings or child are whenever you're going to have something at a lower level. So we've shown you what one looks like. We're going to actually go ahead and we're going to create a new one. So we click on Start Brainstorming. Now, I have too many, so I have to get rid of one. The free ones, this is free software, as I mentioned, and there is no download. You just go to the website. But because it's free, it limits you to having 3 open mind maps at one time. And I had a few, I had one that I was trying to add, and I already had 3 in there. So I just had to click on it and then hit the delete button over here. And so that's what I've done. And so now we're going to, again, we're going to create a new one. So I just click on this Start Brainstorming. And I have created a new mind map. Now, at this point, I've talked about these are what are known as bubbles. And as you see, when I put my mouse over the bubble, I get some choices here. I have the ability to adjust the color of the bubble. I can actually do things with the size. I can increase the size or decrease the size of the bubble. I'm going to pull out for a second and then grab it. I also have the ability to just click with my mouse. I'm holding down, I'm clicking and dragging, so I can move it, and then I just release and it drops it into a new position on my screen area. Connect will show you what that looks like. It allows you to, as you have more than one bubble, you can literally go from one bubble to another bubble and kind of show the interaction or the fact that those items connect. You also have the ability to attach a file. You can do that from your desktop or from the web. And then you can actually delete something if you decide that you don't need that bubble. So let's talk about how do we add additional bubbles before we actually go into building one. If I want to add an additional parent bubble or a bubble item that would be on the same level, I am going to click here to create the bubble, and there is another way to do that, and I'll show you that in a second after I create the first one. I also have the ability to create a child bubble. This is something that's below the level of my original starting bubbles. So if you think about something from, let's say, an organizational chart, this would be the CEO. And then you would go down and you would have Executive VP of Finance, Executive VP of Marketing, Executive VP of Operations, Executive VP of IT. So they would be at lower levels. And then you would continue to create more child bubbles down here for the other support personnel for each of those individual departments. And again, a new child bubble, there's clicking on this little symbol here, and there's also a way where you can have some shortcut keys to move along with that, things like tabs and enters and so forth, and we'll show you that as we move forward. So the concept here is it allows you to present data visually. This is what's known as a non-linguistic representation. So it helps students make connections, or it helps students show to you as the faculty what connections they've actually made. So you can set one of these up as a faculty person and then maybe have Some students take them and run with them, or you can assign these to students themselves and let them build it. Again, we're talking about using this tool in a compare and contrast situation, and often charts and diagrams can help students engage in the process after they receive some direct instruction, let's say a lecture, or they do some reading or some observation, and then what you want to do is have them explain to you what they know about the particular topic, or if they go out and do some research, come back and show graphically or visually their findings. So we can kind of show you how we would build one of these things here, and we're going to do that right now. So our topic for this presentation is going to be data measurement levels. So when you conduct some research, grab some data, get some data from a survey, it can be important to analyze that data and analyze it properly and understand what the different statistical methods are to present and analyze data, and so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to talk about 4 data levels here. So all I did is I clicked in the box, and I'm just going to type in what I need. Okay, so as you see here now, I can hit a tab if I need a new parent bubble, and I can do a command enter, or it's control enter if you're on a PC. I happen to be on a Mac, so it's command enter for me, but for you it would be control enter if you are on a Windows machine. Okay, so we've entered that one, and again, I just click off of this. I can grab this and move it wherever I need to move it, and then just release. When I hover my mouse over it, I'm going to get the choices to change the color, to do things with the size, and so forth. We've already talked about that. So at this particular point, I want to make some child bubbles. Okay, and notice here that if I have a whole bunch and this gets really kind of wild and spread out all over the place, I do have the ability to make multiple bubbles inside one unit like that, so I can actually kind of pull them back. In this case, I'm going to add an additional bubble here. 3, and I'm going to do my command enter to pull something off here, but actually what I want is I want another bubble here first. And let's see, let's give myself some space here with these, and I'm just kind of dragging them off to the side here. If I would like to change the color here, I can do that. Again, I'm just going to click in the bubble. Find difference. Here I'm going to put relative position. Equally spaced continuum. And see, there's a reason for me to drag this one out a little bit more. Maybe even pull this one up out of the way. Okay. Absolute 0 point. Okay, so again, underneath, new child bubble, nominal, ordinal, interval, oops. There, I can show you the undo button there. Oh, actually, I think it's because I've kind of compressed the space here, and this one is actually for underneath that deal. So we're going to and call that ratio. So basically what we're saying here is 4 data measurement levels. The ones who define difference are actually ratio, interval, ordinal, and nominal, and you'll see as I do relative position, ordinal, interval, and ratio. And here we have interval and ratio. Oops. Pull this over here, pull this over here. Absolute 0 point, the only one that has that is ratio. Okay. So notice that when I made a sub-bubble or a child bubble to a previous child bubble, it still has a different color. It's still in green to show it's related. And maybe at this particular point, maybe I just, don't really want to deal with that color. I can actually go up here and I can change the color, and maybe I make it a blue just so it makes it a little bit easier to deal with, or to spot, spot the differences here. Whoops. Color, and grab my recent one that I used. Okay, so you can kind of see how that works. So basically what I've done, whether or not a student would do an oral presentation and need to have some type of graphic visual to go along with it, or to, whether we were doing it individually or group, that could work as well too. Or if you just wanted to have somebody just explain how they understand a set of concepts. Maybe you were say you were teaching accounting and you were talking about the 4 different financial statements, and you wanted them to identify what are the items, what types of accounts, what classifications go on a balance sheet versus an income statement versus a statement of retained earnings versus the cash flow statement. Some of those items are on more than one statement, and how do they interact and how do they work together, and maybe an order of producing the statements first. You could actually, if you were teaching a writing class, this could be something where you could have them maybe describe plots, describe character, maybe describe things like the time period. When do you think the story happened, and maybe see if there's a way. Let's say, what if the story didn't end there and you were going to take it to a new place? Kind of define maybe or storyboard that particular place out. So whenever you're done, and let's assume we're done at this particular point, we're going to hit save. And we've created that. Now I can give it a title here, because right now it just says the new mind map. Okay, so I have the ability to give it a title. And I can do that right here by just highlighting it and saying rename the selected one. And so we can say 4 data levels. And we now have our title. Okay, so we have a number of different things that we can do with them. We can print it out, but understand, depending on how long this is, it may not show up on one piece of paper. We can do some things with fit and so forth, depending on how large this gets. But generally what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to share it with somebody or send it someplace else. So all I did is I clicked on, let's do that again. All I do is I click on this icon right here that says share, and basically it generates a link for me. I think I messed it up because it was already there. So I have this particular item. Let me save it again. It's doing its save. And I click on share. Here's the URL, so you can just click copy the URL and do anything you want with it. You could submit it to Blackboard. You can send it to somebody in an email. If you are going to send it in an email and you already know that person's email address and you just want to do it from here, you can actually enter up to 20 email addresses right in this line right here, separated by commas, and you can put some additional information in there and then send, link, and close and so forth. Or again, you can just take this particular URL link and copy this and place it in an email, upload it to Blackboard, do whatever, put it in a document, whatever you need to do, and then folks will have access to it. Another interesting thing is that you might not be aware of is that if I share this with an individual like we were just talking about, there's also sharing over here as well too, I can come up with the HTML embed code or read-only link to the mind map. Assuming that I don't restrict it to read-only, of which I could do here, I can give various permissions right here. If I'm going to share it and give permission to edit, more than one person can work on this same mind map at a time. So if you're going to assign it to a group, that's a possible thing that you can do with it as well, if it's assigned to the group. And then all folks can actually do work on that same document. If somebody shared something with me and gave me editing privileges, I would be able to add to this mind map. Now, different from things like Google Drive, you can't have 2 people working in it at the same time. So you can only have one person actually live in the mind map, but people can share them and work on them together. So that's it. That's using BubbleUS for a compare and contrast assignment.